All right. We got to make sure we close out all these apps. Make sure
Close
that
it out.
everything
Clean
is
it up.
out. Sorry, I just need to close out a few more.
Simon. Oh boy. He closed out the recording. Guess I'm doing this solo. This is an all new episode of For the Love of Sport. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in. We're into September, back to school, which also means the start of fall, which is my personal favorite time of the year.
This is your favorite. This is like cool, crisp.
I feel like I was born
leaves.
to be a fall person, you know? Just like
I get it. You and the missus. It's just it's a pumpkin spice kind of feeling. And
I got a pumpkin cream
everywhere.
cold brew the day it started. It was like
I feel like it's perpetually getting further back. Like I'm pretty sure it
was in August, I think.
Yeah, it's been. I remember like a few years ago, it was like, all right, September 10th, get ready, pumpkin spice is back. And I think like each year it's just been moving back one day to see if we noticed.
I firmly believe, and I also get this. So if they had pumpkin spice anything all year, I would order it in the dead of summer, certainly. But a lot of times they'll have it longer because they have so much left over. So then you're into February, March, and they still have pumpkin cream cold brew at certain Starbucks.
So you can stock up.
And I ride that wave forever.
Yes.
You know, I just ride it forever. So Starbucks, if you're listening,
you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome for your consistent revenue streams. I'm sure without us, you'd be nothing.
Let's talk about something that we will fully put our name behind and sponsor, which is Sports Engine Play.
Ooh, what a good
which
idea.
Leads us into our guest, Frisco ISD.
No, we have two fantastic guests on the show today from, like Simon said, Frisco ISD, talking all about their broadcasting and video solution that they've created down there, all the way down there in Texas. We take a trip down to Texas.
We get to learn more about how this started with just one guy and now has spread across an entire school district to a bunch of different high schools to help record and broadcast these games for everyone to watch. And it's taken off like hotcakes.
Stay all the way till the end for a special little treat. We put them to the test and they give us their best broadcasting voices. Shall we bring them on?
Let's hop in. All right, let's bring in the stream team. Matt Wixon is a highly experienced writer, editor, and multimedia journalist. His experiences have culminated into the perfect role as athletics facilitator at Frisco ISD, one of the largest school districts in the country, home to over 63,000 students. With a deep passion for sports and education, Matt has dedicated his career to helping young athletes achieve their full potential both on and off the field. He is also a talented author, having written 3 books, including Fourth Down in Texas. Matt's experience and dedication make him an invaluable asset to the community, and we are thrilled to have him on the podcast. But wait, there's more. Let's also bring in Stephen Doherty, who is the broadcast production manager for Frisco Independent School District. A graduate of Texas A&M University and a licensed real estate broker, Stephen has grown the district's broadcast productions from a one-man show to a full-on favorite. As the facilitator of all broadcast productions for the district, events such as convocation, graduation, and of course, what we will speak with him about today, including all FISD athletic events. His responsibilities run across the production of all high school broadcast programs with updating or maintaining equipment, set designs, live streaming, all the things. Stephen's passion for sports broadcasting extends to teaching the sports broadcast class. With that, let's bring in the stream team. Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Stephen, to the For the Love of Sport podcast.
Than's for having me.
Awesome.
Too kind of your words there.
Yes, so kind. The kindest words.
So very kind. I believe the comparison to the Savannah Bananas was spot on, though, in my most humble
100%.
opinion. We've known you guys for a very short amount of time, but based on everything I know about both parties, I think you're right up there in terms of crazy eclectic social media fun outfit.
100%.
A lot of similarities. So with the Bananas and major school district in Texas, we're in line. We're in line. So
You'd be surprised. At how many things these people have in common. So no, seriously, thank you guys though for hopping in and doing this with us. We're excited to bring this episode to our dear listeners. So
And for a major school district too, let's not sell yourself short. That like you are doing some amazing work, and we're excited to dive into sort of the innovative things that you guys are bringing to your community. But before we do that, we want to make sure we touch on the things that, you know, unite everybody and are really the driving force behind the podcast in general. And we wanted to learn more about, you know, how youth sports has affected you guys and your own experience with it. So let's start off, you know, Steven, go to Matt, but I'd love to hear more. And I know Marie as well would love to hear more about your youth sport experience.
Yeah, I was a baseball kid from early on. So youth sports was baseball. Parents were part of the youth organization, so lived at the youth baseball fields. And then high school did a marching band, which left me off the football field, but part of the team, which, you know, fast forward is going to give some motivation to me here later on that I didn't realize. But
which instrument, by the way?
I was drumline.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Like the movie?
Yeah, I like the movie. Yeah. We were a little different type of
just like it.
Yeah, but same concept. So yeah, it's in the band drumline, and then I pole vaulted.
Really?
Spring. Yeah. And then in college, I started rodeoing. So I became rodeo clown / bullfighter. The name is interchangeable.
So I'm going to go back here just a bit here. I'm going to go back to Matt. You just mentioned 3 very different things all at once.
Yeah.
Drumline, pole vaulting, and then rodeo. So I'm unfamiliar with Texas. Are these just natural progressions in youth sports and experience, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I would say not typical, the typical process. So not unusual on probably the rodeo side in the majority of the state, but I grew up in DFW Metroplex, so maybe less so than if you know, are in some of the rural parts. But it was something I always wanted to do. I had a couple uncles that did it. So I went to college at A&M, and that was the perfect.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, gig 'em. That was the perfect geography to find someone who was willing to let me try. And that was all. I was like, I want to do this. Where can I try to do this? And I met a gentleman who his kid was at A&M, and we became friends, and they just threw me in. But drumline and pole vault, same thing. Pole vault, I just wanted to do. That just seemed like the right thing to do. So maybe it's awesome. Got something to say generally with my personality type, but
yeah, I feel like there's a clear line of like you seem to be someone that's like, I think I want to try it, so I think I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. Yeah. So I'm getting that from your experience.
Which is how I ended up here in Frisco doing what I'm doing now. So I mean, that's kind of pushed onto that same thing. So
yeah, I was going to say that you're absolutely right, Marie. There is you either are or are not a pole vaulting person. There's no one's just like, I'm going to dabble in this.
I am not
a little bit.
We'll just call that out.
Yeah, for sure. I love hearing about that progression. I love hearing about how the experiences sort of like shape the other one. So the no fear aspect of pole vaulting, it just sort of lends itself a little bit to rodeo and just being like, oh yeah, I can jump right in and do this for sure. Matt, tell us about yours.
I had the prototypical coach dad type. When I was born, I was a middle son of 3 kids. My dad brought a baseball glove to the hospital and put it basically next to me. So I grew up with baseball, basketball. I played just about everything. The one thing is I'm 6'2" now, but when I graduated from high school, I was not 6 foot yet. Wow. So I was very young and a late bloomer in that. So I played all those sports. I played baseball as a freshman. I was left-handed. I am left-handed. My dad thought I was going to be the next Sandy Koufax. In fact, he worked with me so much that I needed reconstructive elbow surgery after my freshman year. And I decided that's enough of baseball. I switched over to tennis and actually as rehab, and I became one of the top players. I grew up in Phoenix, and so I was number 1 at my high school. So tennis became kind of my passion at that time. And then until I finished high school, and I was like, well, I think I'm done with this. I'm just going to be done with all sports. But I love youth sports. Hopefully I'm not quite as crazy as my dad was in some of those things, but I have 3 sons and brought them all up, in sports. And in fact, my middle son is going off to the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth to play college baseball here in a couple of weeks. So I love what youth sports did for all of them. I love what it did for me. I love what we do in Frisco ISD. Because of that, I just think it's sports aren't for everybody, but anybody who likes sports and wants to get into it, I see a lot of really great benefits. So it's fun to be part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like you have maybe not super unique a path where you were, really into, or maybe through your dad or your parents were really into one sport, and that kind of led you, unfortunately for you, to an injury, but actually probably maybe unlocked a different sport for you that you maybe would have never tried or experienced had that not happened, and turned out you were just as good or better in tennis. And that's a whole experience that I feel like is super relevant to probably a lot of athletes out there today. Of when you specialize in one, you can go down the rabbit hole of, is that good? Is that not good? We don't need to do that today, but you don't know what you might be missing by specializing so early. There could be a whole nother sport that unlocks, even more happiness and joy. And for you, it sounds like that was tennis. And I'm sure Simon's geeking at that. He's a tennis guy too.
I am also a tennis guy. I actually can relate a little bit more too, where like I was also a late bloomer because dear listener, I was a 5 foot nothing for a very long time. And then junior year of high school, I got really tall really quickly. Like I had to take, I had growing pains over the summer. I went from like 5'8" to 6'1". It was a little rough because I was very gangly, like a waving inflatable tube man. I've got more control now is what I'm trying to say. I'm not like falling just by standing up. I'm glad you guys got to go through those experiences and tell us about those, especially because it's nice to see the team sport foundation can sort of lend itself into these individual sports, and how, all the lessons learned sort of compound on top of each other. Before we dive into just, the really cool things you guys are doing with Frisco ISD, can you guys tell me something that you both learned, or a lesson that sort of sticks out in your head from your youth sport experiences, either from a coach, from a play that happened, or just something that you naturally came upon?
I'd say we kind of joked about the just try it method. And so I had a coach. Well, I had a coach first, and then my dad later on coached and took the same thing. But in youth baseball, about 4th inning, 5th inning, it was everyone stand on the fence and run to the position you think you want to play. So it'd be middle of the game, score didn't matter anything, and you just take off. And if you were the first to that position, you played that position for, that inning or so, which to me gave the freedom of like, hey, I am trying this. You're allowing me to just try this. If I fail, coach, you set me up into this position to try it out. And I took that well beyond, youth baseball. Like, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, we'll move on to the next thing. And if it does, then, now we've found another position or another passion or whatever kind of falls in. So I take that pretty much everywhere I go now.
Like that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's somewhat cliche, but it's so much about the journey of a season. I played on some really good teams. I played on some really bad teams. And I think in some cases, I may have had more fun playing on those bad teams. And I tell this to my kids all the time, and even to some of the, athletes I talk with. We're in a time now where a lot of people are seeking out like the best situation, like might want to go to an academy, or they want to move to another team that's going to be a powerhouse. We see it even like in the NBA back with the LeBron James, I'm taking my talents, I'm going to go to be a super team. Well, there are times where I didn't necessarily have that opportunity, but I saw friends who would go to different programs and things like that. And it didn't always work out. And for me, just sticking and playing with, the coaches I knew, the friends I knew, the teammates for a long time, that made it so much more special. Even when we weren't that good at the end of the year, I would think back and go, boy, this is something I'm never going to forget, because I got to do it with these people and I got to have these experiences with these people. So I think that that's a really valuable lesson that I learned. And I think, and I hope that a lot of people are seeing that experience now. It's not all about getting the big trophy and getting that championship at the end. Yeah. It's about what it meant to you during that journey.
Yeah, we've talked to a few people that have had similar thoughts, or, have built their organizations around the idea of like, it is so common for, and I believe genuinely that parents do it because they truly do want whatever is best for their kid. Yeah. Like that's usually the motive of anybody in any walk of life, is just trying to provide the best experience possible. And they seek out, this team has won a lot, so I'm going to put my kid on that team so they win a lot. Not necessarily thinking like, I'm going to put my kid on a team where they're going to have the best experience, or they're going to learn the most, or they're going to experience XYZ. And so that's really interesting to think of it in that frame of light. Like, it is hard though. Like you of course want to win. And, we have that picture in your head of like sports and the championship feeling. And if you're not, winning, it's, not beneficial or whatever that looks like, but it is an important perspective for sure.
Agreed.
Awesome. I figured we'd be on the same page with that one.
I think Marie and I both can relate to being on teams that did not win the championship, you know,
yeah,
or even make it to
place,
anything
though,
resembling a championship. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, there's so much validity to that. So, but being on the teams where like I was on the field constantly, and yeah, the record may not have been that good, I enjoyed more because I got to actually just get better. That was where the enjoyment really lay in being dug in with your teammates, for sure.
You know, it's interesting too, that relates to basically what the whole philosophy of Frisco ISD is, in that we have 12 high schools. I mean, we're a very large school district with about 67,000 students, but 12 high schools. There are other schools around us with high schools that are 3 times, even almost 4 times the size of ours.
Wow.
But the thought is here, it's about participation. We win plenty. We have won a lot of championships. I don't want to down.
Yeah.
Frisco ISD is where you go to not be that good.
Just have fun.
But it is definitely about the experience and the participation opportunities for the kids in this school district. You're going to have a really good opportunity to try a lot of different things like Stephen did. We do not have rodeo clowning, unfortunately.
Right.
I think Stephen's
Not yet.
that, but,
Coming soon.
Yeah. Not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
there we go. Thank you.
I mean, I do want to get to, that was a good transition. I do want to give you guys the opportunity, of course, you know, share where you're at now and a little bit more about Frisco ISD and all that good stuff. But one final thought on that, and you kind of mentioned it, of saying like, you guys are successful and you do win. And I believe that winning and being, a high level organization, whatever, is oftentimes just a byproduct of doing all the other things, right? Of providing a great experience, of making sure you're giving your players the best culture and environment to excel, and doing all of those things. And winning typically ends up being a byproduct of really great organizations without needing to just solely focus on that. So I did just want to shout that out too. But it would be great. I know you guys just mentioned, of course, you guys are with Frisco ISD. Could you maybe just give us a rundown of your respective kind of roles that you guys play?
Yeah, officially, I'm the facilitator for athletics here, which I think in more common language would be like a sports information director for the school district. So I do what I can to promote all the kids. I do all of our media relations, credentialing and all that, and also do our social media. So it's kind of a large encompassing job. And I work obviously a lot with Stephen, and Stephen has maybe even more stuff to do. I'll leave that to Stephen.
Yeah, so right now I am the broadcast facilitator for the district. So anything that pretty much runs through broadcast, with the exception of like with our 12 high schools, each high school has their own kind of news program that's on campus. I help where I can there, but those are the only thing that's pulled apart from my roles. So all of our sports, we do convocation, graduations, pep rallies, events, anything that we want to live stream and share with the community kind of comes through me. As well as for varsity football, we play at 3 venues. One is owned by the district, the other 2 are partners, one with the Cowboys at the Ford Center and the other with FC Dallas at Toyota Stadium. So I kind of juggle all of those through varsity football, of staffing production and getting games and press box and those type of things, which is where Matt and I spend most of our time, August through December, is in those venues.
Let's dive into just sort of like the beginnings, I guess, of this, or maybe the humble beginnings of deciding the goals around broadcasting, games. And I'm imagining it didn't start with like a full production for every single one of these schools. So can you take me through like what really brought up the need for it? Was there a desire from it from a parent perspective? How did those beginnings start, and what made you feel like this is something that we can continue?
So I actually came into education about 8-9 years ago. I'm a real estate broker and just have always had passion for teaching, and I had a professor at A&M reach out and say, hey, they're doing some really cool things with the career-based classes. I definitely was not going to do my hand at, a core subject. That just isn't who I am. And so I was like, here are all these elective classes that they're throwing out there. I think it'd be, you should look into that. So I did. I started teaching marketing, and I was at Independence High School, which was barely a year old at that time. And I had some background in broadcast and public address announcing for sports and things. So I just went to the principal and said, hey, would you have a problem if I wanted to live stream some baseball? I'm just going to take a laptop and a headset and just call the game. And he said, I would love that, but you need to include some students. And so I was like, well, that's even better. Like, oh, that's,
Yeah.
I'm good solo. Let's do it. So I recruited a couple of kiddos who were in some marketing classes. I was teaching sports marketing at the time, which I told those kids I had art as an elective, not sports marketing. So
yeah, I was going to say, if we're talking about electives in high school, I've got some qualms for my high school because
absolutely,
that sounds amazing.
Our elective list is way different than my elective list at school. So so I recruited a couple of kiddos and we did 2 or 3 baseball games, just laptop. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, we had the classic, like, dad keeps the box of random cables in the closet. So those started getting donated to us, which at first was like, this is great. And then you realize we are now just the cable extra collector for all these cables.
Yeah, we probably don't need 42 cables for the 2 games we're doing in a week.
This isn't even for a microphone. This is just like a plug-in for a phone. What are you doing? I don't need this.
Yeah, and so we went through that spring and just kind of did the best we could with what little bit of equipment. And a gentleman who was in our athletic office at the time, he kind of caught wind and came over and said, we've been trying to do this at varsity football for a couple of years. Like, are you interested in maybe trying to figure out how to make this district-wide? Which I, of course, jumped into and said, yeah, let's figure that out. So Independence High School, which is the high school I was at, kind of ran the show for the first year or so because that was the easiest way for me to recruit. It was right on my campus. And then it just kind of took off from there. And we've grown to a ton of members. And now we teach a sports broadcast class, another great elective that I didn't have, but you can take sports broadcast as an elective junior or senior. And you can take that at our Career and Technology Center. And then we have a sports broadcast club that any high school student in the district can be a part of. And they can do the tech side, so cameras and technical directing and replay, or they can do the on-air talent side for sideline reporting, color commentating, play-by-play. So all of that runs through kind of both of those avenues. So that was a little condensed version of what the last 8 years have been, and kind of changing through some streaming partners. And now we're here and we're just going to continue to still grow and get better and better.
Let's talk around the numbers around that growth. First of all, I commend you for jumping in and sacrificing the time to do it in the first place. And I love, hearing how it's grown. But let's go into sort of the numbers behind it. I think you had mentioned too, you had like 5 people at the beginning. What is it up to now? And then how do you handle that kind of growth?
Yeah. So right now we sit 20 to 25 in the class. You do have to take an intro level class at the campus, and then your upper level class you can take at the district Career and Technology Center. So we run about 20, 25 in the class right now. And then we rotate, 80 to 100 kids that either have club sign up. We see a lot of the same folks, right? The kids that are super interested, they're in all the time. But we have a lot of athletes who, right now we won't see them because they're in football, but when we get to spring, we'll see them. And that's kind of been our growth pattern, as it is. And we found really great avenues for kiddos who may or may not start. You mentioned, being on a championship team but not playing a lot. We've found some success in grabbing those kiddos, and that makes them part of the team. That makes them, just as important. And they're calling the games, and they know the players, they know the sport, they know all the things, and then they get some exposure from there, which has been a really cool thing to see from the program side of giving a kid another avenue to participate in a sport like that.
Do you teach the classic newscaster tonality about it, where it's just like signing off here, Frisco ISD?
We might need to we might need to get both their broadcast voices at the end of this.
I need your best broadcast sign off for sure.
Matt definitely has the broadcast side of things. That was also hard for me because I'm way more tech side. Like I can set everything.
Got it.
So then when it was like, do a full broadcast and be in your broadcast personality. That was hard to, it's kind of hard to convey. And Matt's, he works with our kiddos too. It's a little hard to be like, make your voice more, bold and don't say that phrase over and over again, please. Like there's all these learning curves that we've had to do for these kiddos, but it makes so much fun. Matt tells great stories about just, parents loving to hear a kid call a game and the extra passion that's there. It changes the whole dynamic for us as well.
I think one of my favorite things is when we were working with a kid and we'll be talking before we start a broadcast. I'll do color commentary with some kids doing play-by-play or vice versa. And we'll just be saying, okay, here's how we're going to start. Here's what we're going to do. And then to hear him, we'll do 3, 2, 1 and go on. And to hear like a 16, 17-year-old kid go from, oh, yeah, we're going to do that. And he goes, hey, welcome to, you're like, he's bringing it. Here comes that audio voice.
That's commitment. I love that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. We've had a handful of kids that, and, Matt and I talked the years, like, we have a kid that's like, I really want to do play-by-play. And we're thinking, you haven't said 3 words all school year. Like, how are you going to do play-by-play? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then sure enough, that mic turns on and they're like, hello, welcome to the Ford Center. And they just, and you're like, who is this kid? Where did this kid come from? Like,
that's so cool,
just the safety of being on the, the mic that does it. So
yeah, I was just going to say, like, I feel like it's just such a cool avenue to open up to probably the kids that, like, you would never suspect. They would be kids that would feel comfortable in front of a mic and doing things like that. And you guys are opening kind of that avenue for them to explore their passion, or at least, dabble into it. And that kind of leads me into my next question, maybe Matt, for you. Obviously, getting this set up and to the point where it's at now, I imagine the impact that it's had on your community has been massive. And especially, like, of course, everyone knows, like, football in Texas high school football in Texas is a big deal. But I imagine for all of your sports and the families that have kids participating in all those sports, and even families that have people who are helping do the broadcast, like, it's just such a big community impact. Have you guys seen or heard stories around, like, how opening this up and providing this to your community has made a positive impact?
Well, I think definitely I've heard from families who appreciate the fact that, I'm fortunate that I can see most of my kids' games in person. I try to do all those things, but it's not always possible. And the ability to be able to see this video, to get quality video as opposed to the spouse out there with the iPhone, doing the best he or she can. And for, like, grandparents who are out of the area and everything, it's fantastic. And when you can add another layer, like with our football games, to have broadcasting, it blows my mind a little bit compared to, the kind of stuff that I rember growing up. We were thrilled if anybody had, the big old camcorder out there to get
the grainy players. You're like,
yes, the sound was
6
terrible.
Months later, you'll see it. Yeah.
But so I think what I like about it too, is it gives a big time feel for both the kids and the families. It's still, when it comes down to it, high school sports are about having fun and having the experience. It's not about winning, but if we can make it feel like more of a spectacle, that just adds to the experience for them. And video certainly does that.
1,000%. Awesome. I remember when and I'm sure the games that were being filmed when I was in high school were very grainy and not super great. And I remember, seeing those. And of course, like, the whole, as a player, it's fun to see yourself, and there's all the, like, learning and development you can have of seeing film and all that sort of stuff. But even just to, like, it was so cool to, like, see it and then share, like, I scored a goal and to have that, it's like, you can't really put a price on having those things and being able to give that to parents, even if they are at the game.
Yeah, I think I only hit 1 home run in my entire baseball career, and I was a freshman, and it was like, now there may be a 7th grade basketball player that plays basketball this one time this season, and they hit a 3-pointer, and it's like, they're going to have that clip forever now with our partnership through Sports Engine, and then with these cameras and with the amount of content that we cover in the broadcast. And, it may seem like a small, but that compounded over the number of kids that will have that opportunity is big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a particular characteristic of your guys' culture that sticks out in your mind that's helped the success of this?
I think it's just, knowing that you have, I don't want to say the opportunity to fail. That sounds, I don't know why they gave it away. Basically, there's no fear of trying. I think, we have a thing too with, like, our coaches.
Right.
Yeah. We do not, in this district, coaches are not removed because of wins and losses. Coaches, we, just like any big district, coaches come and go to some degree. We have a lot that have been here, but some go to different places. But so for anything, it feels like there's this culture where there's a freedom to try new things and not be, there's no fear of, putting yourself out there and then something happens. Okay, so maybe that wasn't your thing, or maybe it was your thing. You found it. And I think applying it to the broadcast, kids coming in, doing graphics, doing cameras, going on air. And we've had some that go on air. Stephen can talk to this more, who will go on air and then maybe be like afterward, I don't know if I really want to do that again. It was terrifying. And then others who do it and they're like, that was, my gosh, I was so exhilarated that I can't wait to do it again. And if you can give kids and adults like me and everybody involved the opportunity to go in and experience something, it's just as valuable to find out, like, maybe that's not my thing. I'll find my thing over here, as it is to go in there and go, that really is my thing, and I've found it. So I love that our district can do that.
That's great.
We've had plenty of kids that think that they want to be on air day one, and then next thing you know, they're on air, and it's like, you know what? I think graphics is good. I'll do replay, or like so, and that's totally fine. That's good. We tell them from the beginning, we don't have a dump button, right? Like we're not an ESPN truck. What you say is go. Now, if it's too egregious, we'll pull the video down, and that But most of the time, they're enough to laugh about, and you get some things that I think swim and dive this year. We put a new kid on, and he said, well, they're getting ready on the jumpy blocks. And then he'll figure out that that's not what they're called. And then, you know what I mean?
Wait a second. So, yeah. I've been living a lie this whole time.
Exactly.
I swore they were jumpy blocks. No, that's great. And it kind of touches on another thing I want to ask you guys, obviously. And Stephen, you might have more advice and maybe some learnings that you had as you were growing this, broadcast department and that whole experience. So we obviously have a lot of youth sports organizations and admins who probably will listen to this and are thinking like, gosh, it would be great if I could start, a video program, or even just for one team this season. I want to figure out how to start streaming and, share that with those families. What would be, I guess you could think of it in two ways, like what some advice you have, or maybe even like what were some missteps that you took that you're like, if I were to do this again, I would certainly not spend as much time doing this, and I would just, jump right into this.
Yeah, I think from an advice standpoint would be when you're starting, you don't have a network level broadcast in your near future. So don't, stay up all night trying to figure out how to do that, and teach yourself Photoshop and right. Like just let's get the content out. Let's get the video out there. Let's start there. So I think starting small, and whether that's even with just an iPad and you buy the $11 iPad tripod on Amazon, right? Just start small, make it simple, and then you'll be surprised how it just kind of naturally grows. And then eventually you get into, kind of the multi-camera, and you get broadcaster, and you get those things that go that way. So from an advice standpoint would be start small. And then probably from just something that I would probably redo is there was an early on kind of tight group of students who was like, this is probably who's going to be our people, kind of that low hanging fruit. And I think had I opened that window up more early on, we probably would have grown a little faster. And I don't know if I would have been able to handle that, but we probably would have been able to have a little more student involvement, early on come year +1 and beyond. So I think, and we've mentioned a few times, just don't be afraid of who might be willing to hop in and work this with you, or, what student or what, even a manager, a lot of youth teams and high school teams have a manager. Like that manager person they just love the sport. They're not going to play, love the sport. This may be their spot. This could easily be their avenue to help add value to the team. And then this is not a shameless Sports Engine plug, I promise, but finding the right partner, right? Like finding your right partner in those things is important. We had a streaming partner tell us at one point along the way, like, look, none of our schools are going to win a sports semi. That's just who it is. And our thought was that may be true today, but we can still strive to win a sports semi as a high school broadcast group. Like that, that can still absolutely be in your horizon, and that can be on your goal sheet. And so having that group of partners and people around you that are like, today, not great, but we're still moving towards sports semi land,
Yeah, it is important to not lose that. You should still have aspiring dreams and goals, but you should also be okay that you're probably, it's the whole thing of like, if your dreams aren't big enough or aren't scary, they're not big enough. Is that the saying? Yeah. So you should still have those, but you should also be okay, like not meeting those immediately. So
if that isn't a phrase, it is now a phrase.
It's a phrase. I think I was like, if your dreams aren't big, they're not scary, which is like, you don't want scary dreams. So we're good. Yeah. We made it.
Guys, I wanted to ask you quickly. I imagine that the access to these highlights and access to these games is, available for even these players, so that they can start putting together their own highlight reels. They can start to promote themselves too. And as we enter this new landscape of name, image, likeness, can you guys talk to the importance around how video can assist promoting the athlete themselves when they want to reach those particular goals, or when it comes to NIL and social?
Well, I would say not so much right now for name, image, likeness, because we have some real restrictions and it's kind of a difficult situation here in the state. But as far as recruiting, I mean, before there was NIL, people just dreamed about, getting that college scholarship or getting the opportunity to play in college.
Or there's a scout in the crowd.
That's right. I think it's, it's more valuable than ever for these kids to be able to do the highlight reels and things like that because, as I mentioned, I have one son who's going off to college baseball, and there are so many recruiting services out there, and I don't want to just downplay all of those, but basically what coaches want to see is a kid who's interested, and you have to do the work yourself. You contact a coach, and if you have clips, that's what they always ask. Do you have highlights? It's hard to put them together, but if a kid has highlights and has an interest in the school, that coach wants a direct email from that kid. And now this makes it easier than ever if that kid can kind of take control of their own, say, look, I had a great game on Tuesday night, and here are 2 clips of my hits or my catch or my 3-pointer or whatever. And you can send that immediately to a coach. It is incredibly valuable because that's the kind of stuff that it doesn't matter if you don't have the money to go hire some recruiting consult to reach out to schools. You can do it on your own, and you can feel good as a kid that you're making progress into whatever your goal is. And I love that this makes that so much easier for them.
Yeah, I love being able to, I guess 2 things, being able to put it into the athlete's control. Like I remember when I was in high school and going through that, I never played club soccer or where, went to tournaments where coaches were. And if you weren't at tournaments where coaches were, it was really hard to, be recruited. That was just kind of the landscape that we lived in. And being able to have the control of I've been playing great and no one's been there to see it. Can I get access to this stuff and send it out? And so being able to just give the control to the athlete and ultimately let them kind of drive their own path and success and future is really cool. And then the second thing you said just around accessibility, right? That's a huge topic in youth sports in particular, but I'm sure, in high school as well, as people are trying to get recruited, is these things, there's a price tag on everything and they're only getting higher. And so if you can make things more accessible and affordable for kids who do want to take control, they can do that easily and kind of set up their own journey and destination. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think Matt and I typically in the past been kind of the gatekeepers of that content, and not for any reason other than we were the 2 with the logins. So it's the amount of emails we fielded from can I get this film? Can I get that? It's that's a huge bandwidth off us. Someone like Matt who's on a sideline, he's got instant access to share that clip out right away. And I think there's just the benefits seem endless at the moment. And it's going to be amazing as we roll here into our first few seasons.
Yeah. Getting to the point of having everyone have access to everything can be a little scary, but it's also, I'm sure, weight off of your guys' chest of well, ball's in your court now. What you do with it is kind of what you're gonna do. So
that's right.
Awesome. Well, I know we're running up against time here, and we wanna make sure we can get to the this or that gauntlet.
We have 11 rapid fire questions that we are going to read at a rapid fire pace, and we need rapid fire answers from the 2 of you. Gut answers only. No thinking involved. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we're gonna ask. We're gonna take turns asking, and we're gonna go just sort of in order of my screen here. Steven, you're gonna answer first, then Matt. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. I'll kick us off.
All right.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Am I supposed to follow up, or I get a different question? Sorry.
Yep. No, you follow
same
up.
one.
Okay.
Yep.
Early bird.
Nice.
All right. Next, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Neither.
Ooh, just water.
Oh.
How do you?
I'm a soda person.
Get that out of here.
All right. On a road trip, are you the driver or the passenger?
Driver.
After a long day, is it the couch or the recliner?
Couch.
Nice. Is it pronounced GIF or GIF?
GIF.
I would say GIF. Last night my wife said GIF, and I kind of was thrown by it.
Oh no!
You have to immediately question everything now that you know she's a GIFer.
That's right.
Equally as divisive, chocolate milk, syrup or powder?
Ooh, powder.
Syrup.
Ooh, interesting.
This is
All right.
feeling like the bananas episode.
All right, football game. Are you preferring those on Friday night under the Friday night lights or a Sunday afternoon?
I'm gonna be that guy. Saturday.
Ooh, yeah, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Guy.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Friday Night Lights guy. I love high school football.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. What's better, walk-off home run or home run saving catch?
Oh, the catch. The home run saving catch for sure.
I'll go with the home run because I could never leap high enough to get to the top of the fence.
Simon feels the pain.
I do.
But now you guys both, I feel like you could probably get it with standing. So I'll get it out there.
No jumping involved.
All right. Which would you prefer? And Steven, this might be hard for you, but play-by-play or color commentary?
I will do color.
Color commentary, definitely.
The pressure's off for sure. I was going to say, now that I think about it, play-by-play seems more like arduous than that. All right. These next two, these are bigger questions. Your all-time sports movie.
The Natural.
Oh, nice.
Field of Dreams came out right when I was going off to college, and my baseball loving dad, we went and saw it, and
I love that. Have you been in Iowa?
Yeah.
Have you gone?
No, I have not.
We went as
awesome.
it was one of our family road trips we did.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. We called it. We made a Field of Dreams reference earlier. If you build it, they will come. That's your
right,
guys' broadcast strategy. So
we did it. You're welcome, Kevin Costner.
That's a good callback.
Yeah. I like how you guys both did baseball too. Baseball themed sports movies. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. This one's a little more open-ended, but what's been the best coined catchphrase someone's had at Frisco ISD on air?
Oh man. I'm probably going to take Matt's because we might have the same, but we had a kid that always said, "That's the end, good night." But it could be at any time during the game. It didn't matter.
It's like the first out of the game.
Yeah. We goes up by one touchdown. He's like, "That's it. Good night." And it's like, we have so much more left to play. Like, good night.
That's an impactful one. Got to be at the end. One time only.
Yeah, I love it.
That would be mine too, but I have to add this. It was always, he catches the ball and good night. And then he
that's right. That's
like a gavel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Adjourn.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how we're going to end every podcast now, Marie. We're just going to end it. And that's the last question. Good night.
Yeah. All right. If you can throw in the middle of the podcast, that'd be good too.
We'll just throw our next guest off like they answer one question. And that's the end. Good night. That's good.
Oh, that
awesome.
would be funny, actually. If you guys want to have some, special guests, maybe play-by-play or color commentary, I'll even volunteer to do play-by-play since that's the more time-intensive one. I think Marie and I would be more than happy to volunteer.
All right,
Can't
come on down.
That would be a trip.
I would. I would enjoy that. I think we'd have fun.
Yeah, Will voluntold you on air very quickly here. That can happen. So. Matt came over as a writer, and I was like, "Do you want to be on air maybe since you work here now?" And he's like, "Well, I guess he's on air now." So you can,
how fast these things can change. So,
guys,
all right,
with your best broadcast voice.
Let's hear it.
You got to hear
what you got.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this incredible podcast brought to you by Mrs. Jones Delicious Cookies. I'm going to get over to my sidekick, Stephen Doherty, right here for some final thoughts. Stephen, take it.
Yeah, heck of a podcast today. Really enjoyed all of the takes that we had. I think we had a good showing from both sides. There were some ups and some downs, but in the end, we came off with the win. So with that, thank you and good night.
Love it.
Yes,
wow.
Amazing.
Guys.
We're taking that clip. That might be the new outro for everything. So amazing. Well, seriously, guys, thank you so much for hopping on. We appreciate it. Obviously, love what you guys are doing at Frisco ISD. Love the partnership and looking forward to all that's going to come. So
are we. Thanks guys
for having us.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys. Marie, how would you react if I said I got $200 off something for you?
I would say, shut the front door. What's the catch?
What about
What's
$400?
The catch? $400? No. Forget it. What am I doing? Selling my house to you for this or what?
What about $500?
No. Okay. I'm done. I've heard enough. That would be ridiculous.
Well, $500 is exactly what is available. You can get 500 smackaroos off your first year of Sports Engine HQ's award-winning premium club management software. With Sports Engine HQ premium subscription, you will get, you ready for this, Marie? It's a lot. Custom, online, and mobile-friendly registration, secure and flexible financial tools with QuickBooks integration, free connected team mobile application, auto-scheduling, volunteer management, and so much more. You can visit sportsengine.com/solutions for more information. Use the promo code SAVE500 to, save $500 off your first year of Sports Engine HQ. It ends Friday, September 29th, midnight at Pacific Standard Time. The broadcast voices were really impressive. Like they've really got that down pat. And I do want to like call this out to you, Marie. Give me your best. Give me your best broadcast sign off, non-regional dialect. Encouraged.
Non-regional. Because I feel like anytime I do a voice, I go immediately to Super Minnesota. Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time right here live from Minnesota Sports Network.
That's gonna work local. Local Minnesotans are gonna be like, sign this gal up. All right, but give me your best. Give me your best, like for the love of sport. This is Marie Fitzgerald.
All right. I gotta
take a moment before. Take a moment before. That's fine.
Okay, here we go.
The intensity, folks. Like this, like she's really.
I know. I think I went to another world there for a hot sec. So, all right, Simon. Thanks so much for sitting here doing this with me. It's a blessing that we get to do this as our jobs each and every day. We tune in, we talk about sports, and you know what we do it for? For the love of sports. So thank you so much, listener. We will see you next time.
Wow.
Ooh, maybe. I didn't even put an in there. That's usually the old crutch.
I was going to say, like, I think that's what made it a real broadcast voice. You don't hear them go ums or ers or ahs. They're just full stream of consciousness. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. I'll be here all week.
Let's follow that up.
Yeah.
If you have a wonderful broadcasting voice, if you want to like give us your best, sign off for the love of sport, this is so-and-so signing off, send it to us. Send us all of those. We want to hear your best broadcast voice.
Better yet, if you have, if you at your organization or if you as a parent have got to watch your kid on a live stream that maybe your organization or high school provides, and you were blown away by the level of broadcasting ability of whether it was a student doing it or, an adult doing it, we would love to hear that too, because I feel like there are some high schools out there, probably high schools, I would say, doing some really good broadcasting work that could be fun to listen to. So either tag us on social media, tag us Sports Engine across most of our channels, or send us an email with a little audio clip or video clip, and we'll share that out. That would be really cool to see, actually.
Yes, send us your best high school broadcast, U Sport highlight broadcast. Throw in a little sports centery broadcasting and commentary action in the background if you want, but send it our way, and we will feature the heck out of that.
Heck yeah, we'll feature the heck out of that. No
qualms about doing that at all.
All right, well, what do you say? Ooh, I'm gonna do the Simon sign off. What do you say we tie a bow on this one and let you know that this was another episode of For the Love of Sport, brought to you by Sports Engine, the home of U Sports. If you would like to reach out to us, you can do so at ftlospod@nbcuni.com. Or like we said, feel free to hit us up on any of our social channels, Sports Engine across the board.
For the Love of Sport is brought to you by Sports Engine, the home of U Sports. The hosts are Marie Fitzgerald and myself, Simon McKenzie. Our marketing guru is Kelsey Irwin. Our intelligent intern is Joe Brzonik. And the exceptional, professional, and wonderful sound engineer that's behind our honey dulcet tones is the great Troy Stone. We will be back again with a new episode very, very soon.